It's Friday, so let's get to some questions from the listeners.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned in to another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That is at JOHNYJ_15. You also can listen to us on wherever you download your podcast. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit that follow button and subscribe. For you first-time listeners wondering what to expect from this channel, well, we broadcast to you 3 days a week right now, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But beginning on February 1st, we'll be back to our regular 5-episode-a-week schedule, and those will be 30-minute episodes in length. Before we get started, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Well, I did want to give a little bit of an update as to why this episode is coming to you so late in the evening. This is actually the second time I'm doing this episode. I had recorded this morning at 8:30, and for the entirety of the day, for whatever reason, StreamYard would not download the video. So I had no chance to edit it. I've tried everything. I was at work today on that Wi-Fi. I was down at Argosy Casino doing a live remote thing for my day job and still couldn't download it there. I come back home, still didn't download it, which is why at 8:26 as I'm recording, nearly 12 hours later, I'm having to do this thing all over again. So really for the first time ever, I do know the questions that I will be answering before I read them because this is the second time I'm doing it. My apologies on that. Never happened before on StreamYard that I've been, used to, where you just have something that doesn't download. It just kept processing over and over again. So I will be going through these questions once again. Didn't want to leave everybody on the weekend without a Mailbag Friday episode. Let's dive into it. Question number 1 from Braden. I feel like this team is already starting so much better than they started last season. I'm not sure why people are saying they aren't making the playoffs as it stands. We have Carter, Jack, Strom, Collins, Thomas, Reagans is back, etc. This team seems greatly improved. Well, I do agree they're in a better position than they were last year. I feel they have more depth in the starting rotation. I feel their bullpen on paper is better. They still need to acquire that impact bat. Or an everyday bat, because I don't want to leave it up to chance that the guys you're counting on are your difference makers. You want to make it as easy on them as possible. And if they play great, that works out well for you, but you need to have as many reliable bats in that lineup. And I'm still hoping they land that one bat before spring training. This one's from Sladen. Any interest in Miguel Andujar? He crushes lefties, is still young at 30, would be a nice insurance policy in the occasion of an injury, or if whoever is playing second base and there's an injury, it would allow Garcia to slide over to second or shortstop, heaven forbid. Thanks as always. I would have interest in Miguel Andujar if they didn't already have a platoon option in Lane Thomas. To me, Lane Thomas is your platoon outfielder. Now the focus needs to be on finding an everyday bat. Therefore, you could move Kyle Isbell off the everyday role. Maybe Isaac Collins, can move into center field and you get another left fielder that could be your everyday guy out there. But Miguel Andujar, he seems like more of a platoon bat for me, and I'm not blown away by the defense, and I'm sure the Royals aren't either. This one is coming from Michael. Hey, Jack, did you see Vinny said he hadn't had contract negotiations with KC in a few years on foul territory this past Tuesday? What are your thoughts on that? My thoughts would be that it's a little surprising for sure. I've always thought that Vinny Pasquantino was deserving of an extension before Maikel Garcia. He's the heart and soul of your team. He is definitely worth more than the $4.5 million that he's trying to make in arbitration. And you got to pay somebody like that who's also a fan favorite. The numbers are there. They have been the last 2 years. I believe he's deserving of an extension. I'm sure the Royals do as well. But you can't just hand out extensions all the time. Maybe they feel that they're going to wait until middle of the season or the end of next year. But it did surprise me that, they haven't had negotiations in a couple of years, because I don't believe that Vinny Pasquantino is trying to put out a smokescreen or anything. unless in typical Vinny fashion, he's fooling all of us. And then it's going to come out that there's an extension to be signed here next week or so. But to me, it did really catch me off guard. This one is from Jeff. TV options without blackouts for someone living outside the metro area. MLB.com has blackouts. Sounds like FanDuel is done. That was always my go-to via DirecTV. I don't want to lead you astray because I'm not sure until the Royals have that TV deal, that new TV deal, what the blackout restrictions are going to be. So instead of leading you astray or sending you somewhere that might be illegal to watch the games, I'm just going to have to tell you to wait a little bit longer. But I would say that right before spring training, we should have a pretty good idea where the Royals will be broadcasting and where, you can watch without any blackout restrictions. This next one is coming from David. Is there a prospect in the minors that we're overlooking that can make an impact in the big league club? Not right now, not for 2026. I'm not blown away by Omaha's roster. There will be guys that start off the year in Omaha that will have a chance to pitch or to hit in Kansas City. To me, it'd be more on the pitching side. I feel Eric Sarantola, Steven Zobak could absolutely have an opportunity, but offensively, there's not any prospect there that A, I believe is ready, or B, could make a significant impact in 2026. This one's from Eli. If you could pick one player to add from the 2019-2023 Royals, who would it be and why? It would either be 2019 Jorge Soler, who had 48 home runs, or it'd be maybe 2019 Whit Merrifield, who led the league in hits and hit north of 290. You could put him at second base or in right field. I feel that would solve a lot for the outfield problems for the Royals. And those were the two better players they had from 2019 to 2023. Maybe Andrew Benintendi in that all-star year, but for the most part, there's just not many guys to pick from. But I'll go with those three for now. This one is from Dalton. You said in Tuesday's episode that the Royals were still looking to add to their bullpen. What left-handed relievers do you have in mind? Also, do you think that Jack Caglione is set to have a breakout season? For the relievers, I'll stick with what MLB Trade Rumors said. You had Dylan Dodd there, Jordan Wicks, John King. Those are all decent options from the left side. Could also go in free agency. Andrew Chafin, somebody. Ryan Barucki's another. You could go and get – I know Justin Wilson was contemplating retirement, so maybe not him. I'll stick with those six for now. Those feel like very affordable options that the Royals could add. And you could go the trade route or you could go free agency. Both can be done within the next day or two. I just don't know if a deal actually would happen in the next day or two. And also for Jack Caglione, I don't know if I'd call it a breakout year, but I believe he will be improved from 2025. I know it's a very low bar, but I could see him hitting anywhere from 225 to 240 and running into 20-plus home runs this year, which would be great from a Royals right fielder. This one is coming from Blaze. If you had to predict the rest of the Royals offseason, what moves do you think they'll make? I'll say that they add one more bat and one more reliever. With the report coming out there from Manny Rogers that they are still looking for a left-handed reliever, and you thought they might have been done after Matt Strom, I feel they can easily get that reliever. They're not going to have to give up a lot, or they're not going to have to spend a lot. When it comes to the bat, January and February, really over the next couple of weeks, I feel the dominoes are going to start falling here. So I do feel they are going to add one more bat, and if it's not the trade route, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if they do pivot on a one-year deal in free agency to get that everyday bat for a corner outfield spot. Jason's question, who is your bounce-back player candidate for this year, pitcher and hitter? Pitcher, no-brainer for me. It's Cole Ragans. I feel that Cole Ragans is going to respond in a big way. You can also put Chris Bubich in that conversation because he didn't get to finish the second half of the season, but his numbers were great before the injury. Cole Ragans, not so much. He did finish the year strong in September, but I feel I'm going to expect some pretty good numbers from Cole Ragans in 2026 over the entirety of the season. I don't see him having multiple IL stints, and if he stays healthy, he absolutely can be in Cy Young contention yet again. This one is coming from Bryce. Do you feel like Adam Frazier is still a possibility as a late signing before spring training to lengthen the bench and have depth on the team? Absolutely. I still feel that they're going to re-sign Adam Frazier. Maybe he's trying to see if he can get a little bit more money or an extra year. I could see the Royals giving him a one-year deal with a club option for a second year, or a player option for a second year. That all seems very possible to me. They're just going to wait and see maybe how much that price comes down. But I am pretty surprised that Adam Frazier has not found a home yet, and that home hasn't been in Kansas City. This one's from RB Carr. Is it possible KC has overestimated the value of their starting pitching? Bubic and Bergert didn't finish the year due to injury. The secondary metrics aren't great on Cameron and Kolek. Walker and Lugo are old and lack surplus value and refusal to move Reagans. How do they get the bat? I don't believe they're overvaluing their starting pitching. I keep alluding to this interview mainly because I love sitting down with Dan Zimborski of Fangraphs and hearing his thoughts on the Royals, but he believes they have the deepest pitching staff in the American League Central. That's over Detroit and that's over Cleveland. So other people that aren't biased like me at times, they're telling you that it's a pretty deep group. And advanced metrics are important, but Cole Reagans, to me, has elite advanced metrics. Noah Cameron got better as the season went on. Ryan Bergert's got incredible spin. Stephen Kolek is a strike thrower, which is fine for a 6th or 7th starter. And then Lugo and Walker, you know what you're going to get from them. A lot of teams would kill to have a rotation like the Royals and have the depth that they have. So, no, I do not believe that they are overvaluing that group. I feel that it's still a top 8 rotation in all of baseball. Let's take our first break of the show. When we come back, still a lot of questions to get to next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can listen to us on wherever you download your podcast. Want to tell you about the first sponsor today in Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money is actually going to each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And real quickly, we want to tell you about the Everydayer Club. Locked On is very proud of it. We want to thank you for listening to Locked On Royals every single day. And thank you for making Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network out there. So we couldn't have done it without you. This podcast has seen tremendous growth over the last couple of years, and it's because of you loyal listeners, even if I do get the episode out a little bit later than I'd hoped to. But if you are interested in signing up, you get the Discord access, the text access with the group of other listeners. You also can get ad-free Locked On Royals episodes. Scroll down, click on the URL link, and they're going to take you from there. Very, very easy to sign up, and you can do it on either YouTube or you can do it on wherever you're listening to your podcast. Just scroll down, click on that URL link, and you can go from there. Jumping back over to Twitter, we're going to get to BK's question. What's one Royals roster decision this year that looks small now but could have a big impact by August? I'm going to say the signing of Alex Lang. I feel that if he can replicate that form he had, even maybe 75% of it when he was the closer for Detroit, you've got a nice little piece in the bullpen. I do feel that the success of Sam Long and Taylor Clark give him an outside chance. I know he got a major league deal where those guys got minor league deals, but the Royals saw something in both those guys coming off of down seasons or just not even playing in the big leagues at all, like Taylor Clark had in 2024. So there still is hope for Alex Lang, and I feel that if he can stay healthy, you can absolutely see the benefits of it by August. This one is coming from Danny. Lots of talk about acquiring Duran. What would the cost be for Wilyer Abreu? Would it be Bubic and then some? For Abreu, I feel it'd be more Noah Cameron and then some than Bubic. I mean, you're talking about a Gold Glove right fielder, probably the best defending right fielder in the sport. He is a strong side platoon guy. He doesn't hit lefties very well. And I feel that's why the Royals wouldn't want to send Noah Cameron their way for somebody that couldn't play every single day against, any sort of pitcher out there. There's not going to be any issues, whether it be a right-hander or a left-hander. Bubic, I don't think that he's going to be traded to Boston for any of those top outfielders. They likely have to lower their asking price on him if they are to move him. And it doesn't seem like the Royals want to lower their asking price when it comes to Chris Bubic. At least that's where things stand right now. Next one is coming from Chipper. Where will the Royals be on TV next year? I'm really unsure at this point. I don't want to lead anybody astray and pick somewhere where I think they might be broadcasted, but I would imagine by mid-February, before the games start happening and they would broadcast some of those, they'll have a decision on where you can be watching. Next one is coming from Aiden. My ideal trade would be Cubs get Chris Bubic, Blake Mitchell, and Ben Kudrna. Royals get Nico Horner, Ian Happ, and $14 million in cash. I think it's an upgrade and affordable. What are your thoughts on that? Absolutely an upgrade. That would be a home run type of deal for the Royals, but I imagine the Cubs would say no. They're in win now mode and trading Nico Horner and Ian Happ to get 2 prospects and just Chris Bubich, who's going to be a free agent at season's end. I feel they'd be asking for a lot more. To get Nico Horner alone, the Royals would need to trade Noah Cameron and then some. If they were to trade Chris Bubich, you're likely only getting somebody in return that might be a free agent at season's end as well. I like the thought. I like that you put the whole trade proposal out there, but I do feel the Cubs would say no in this situation. Now moving over to Justin's question. Since the Royals did not avoid arbitration with Vinny and Bubich, do you think they are close to a deal, or was there some sort of negotiation breakdown? Really, really, really don't want to lose or create bad blood with Vinny. I don't believe it's going to lead to any bad blood. I do think that they need to have some form of an extension set up with him. That could be buying out the remaining arbitration years. That could be giving him a slight pay bump. I don't know why they didn't just give him the extra $500,000 in that. He seems to be worth more than $4 million. He seems to be worth way more than $4.5 million. I mean, Chris Bubich is asking for $6 million, and the Royals are $1 million less than that. It did surprise me. I just don't think there's going to be any bad blood there. That's something that I don't envision over the next couple of weeks. There does seem to be hope that an extension will happen at some point. I know it's a very broad and general statement. I'm not trying to act like some insider right now. He's just a player that you don't want to see play anywhere else anytime soon. And the Royals can't afford an extension with him. They gave Michael one. Vinny seems to be the next guy up. Next one's from Tom. Does the Bubich-Pasquantino cases going to arbitration make them more likely to be traded this year or down the road? And does the Rojas signing open up a guy like Nick Lofton to be part of a trade? I don't see Nick Lofton being a trade chip anywhere. At this point, he's likelier to be DFA to clear some space, and he could be picked up elsewhere, or the Royals could trade him for cash. There's not a lot of value right there based on what he's done the last 2 seasons. When it comes to Bubich and Vinny, this isn't going to lead to a Vinny Pasquantino trade. I understand that Jack Caglione can play first base. I see him long-term being a right fielder. Vinny is going to be this team's first baseman for the next couple of years, whether that be with an extension or not. With Bubich, that does make me think just a little bit more. He is going to be a free agent. He has been injury prone. You don't settle an arbitration. Or are you trying to leverage him even more now into a trade? That absolutely is possible. But when it comes to Vinny Pasquantino, I'm not worried that he's going to be traded anytime soon. That's going to wrap it up for our questions on Twitter. So let's look at YouTube, starting with Reese. What do you think about Isaac Collins possibly playing center field? Some of his metrics support him being good in that spot. And with that, he has more control than Isbell, a better bat, and could help make the search for another bat easier. What are your thoughts on that? It's something that I would be open to, because if the Royals are looking to add a left fielder, I don't want that to bump Isaac Collins out of an everyday spot. I want Isaac Collins playing 90% of these games, whether that's left field, center field, or second base, which seems to be the positions that he can play, more so left field and second base. I would like to have that bat in center field. And if he's great in left field, I know it's going to be tougher to make that transition to center. I feel you could get league average defense in center. It really comes down to, do the Royals want to do that when they have Kyle Isbell on the roster? As of right now, it is going to be Kyle Isbell in center field and Collins in left field. We'll see, though, if they make any other major trade before spring training. Next one on YouTube is from Matt. Is it fair to expect 25-plus starts from Lugo and Waka? I do feel that that's fair. I don't know about 30-plus starts. That's where I would maybe put the over-under at 28.5, 29.5. You can ask 25 starts out of both of those guys. I don't want them working 7-8 innings every other outing, though, like they did in 2024. It's nice if you're pitching well early on in the season, but in back-to-back years, they've run out of gas in August and September. You want to keep those guys fresh. I would take a page out of what the Padres did in 2023, which was throw Seth Lugo for 140-ish innings and Michael Wacha threw 120-something innings. I'm all right with that because the Royals bullpen is much better than it was in 2024. Let's take our final break of the show. When we come back, we will wrap up the week with our final set of questions. Next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jack Johnson, and you can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. Want to tell you about the title sponsor today in FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, and you can apply the bets that you like the most. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after an even bigger payout while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. For my pick this weekend, I'll add on to my Jacksonville and Buffalo pick. Let's go with Houston and Pittsburgh. I will take the under on the total for that game. I will take the over on rushing yards for C.J. Stroud. That's going to be a tough one to get just because I don't see C.J. Stroud that much of a runner. Give me one big scramble and I'll feel good. But I'll take the under on the game. I will take the over on rushing yards for C.J. Stroud, and I will take the Texans to win that game and move on to the divisional round. Going back over to YouTube, let's get to Steve's question. Jack, do you think that Juan Soto's $700 million contract is one of the reasons that Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Bo Bichette, and Bellinger aren't signed yet? I don't believe so. Since it was last year's contract, those guys can't really play that market. They're waiting for that massive deal to happen. Now, Pete Alonso did that to an extent, different position though. You've got a mix of outfielders here. Bo Bichette's an infielder. He's meeting with the Phillies on Monday. That could lead to some type of a deal. And if Bo Bichette signs, I feel it's that domino effect where you're going to see the rest of these guys go down the line. I do not see Juan Soto, though, having an impact. I really want to think that this whole free agency holdout is about over, that these guys are going to find new homes soon, because that's going to help the Royals as well. These guys start falling off the board, teams will be more inclined to trade, in my opinion. To answer your question in a quick way, though, no, I do not believe that it has much of an impact on what those guys are trying to get in free agency. Logan's question, do you think the lack of Pasquantino's extension signals the Royals may be waiting to evaluate Caglione's development this year, possibly viewing Vinny as a future DH? I don't. Cags can be a right fielder long-term, and Vinny has grown a lot as a first baseman. He could DH in the future, and maybe more so once Salvador Perez is no longer playing in Kansas City or in the major leagues in general. Cags feels like one of those long-term development projects in right field defensively, whether he's a great hitter or not. Vinny is going to be here for the foreseeable future, and while he's on the team, he's going to be their first baseman. This arbitration case, it's not changing my opinion one way or another. It's unfortunate because an extension hasn't happened. It's just not clouding the future for me in general. I don't feel that this is going to be one of those things you go back on and say that's where it all fell apart for Vinny Pasquantino and the Royals. I am curious who wins this case. I like to think that Vinny Pasquantino can. It's not going to be a development year, though, for Cags, where maybe next year you're looking at him as your first baseman. I see Vinny Pasquantino being this team's first baseman on opening day 2027. A and B's question, can you explain arbitration? Is there anything comparable in the NFL or the NBA? We have the collective bargaining agreement in the NBA and NFL. How I can explain this quickly with arbitration, you have Vinny Pasquantino, who believes that he is worth $4.5 million. The Royals value him at $4 million. If you can't come to a settlement, like we've seen with everybody else on the roster other than Chris Bubich, you go to an arbitration hearing, and that player gives his case, why they are worth that amount of money, and the team will give their reasons as to why he's worth their proposed amount of money. It's a good thing that Vinny Pasquantino and the Royals aren't as far apart as Tarek Skubal and the Tigers, who are $13 million off, which I want to say is the record now that I think about it. He wants $32 million, and the Tigers are valuing him at $19 million, which is absurd because they gave Alex Cobb $15 million last year, and he did barely anything for them. So that tells you where the Tigers are at when it comes to a long-term extension with Tarek Skubal, which maybe leads me to believe he is going to be moved at some point because he's going to be a free agent next year and covet a lot of money. Maybe the best thing for the Tigers to do if they're out of it at the deadline is to move the best pitcher in baseball or second best if you are a big Paul Skeens fan. A&B also asks, actually, this is not A&B's question. This one comes from Irmo. I'm guessing KC can't control the timeline for a big bat trade. Do you agree that some of the expensive free agents need to get signed before Boston or other spendy St. Louis trade partners can finalize what they are doing? That's what we were talking about a few answers ago is, yes, I do feel that way. You have all these free agents out there that once they're off the board, teams are going to know where they stand and what they still need. When you have all these options out there, teams are going to try to fill holes on their roster by signing those guys. And if you come in second place with some of these guys, maybe you are looking to trade with the Royals. You can really only acquire their starting pitching because the Royals aren't moving any of their hitters, and there's not many guys in that lineup other teams want to acquire. So it comes down to pitching. If you have some teams that are waiting to see what Framber Valdez does or Ranger Suarez, and they don't land those guys, now they can pivot to the Royals, and then you could see some type of a deal happening. My hope is that in the next couple of weeks, all of those big-name guys will have found new homes or returned to where they played last season. Next one, and one of our last ones, is coming from Brad. I believe we have 4 more questions to go here. Brad's question, who is your favorite AL Central player outside of the Royals roster? I'm going to say Jose Ramirez and Tarek Skubal. Very basic answers from me. You have 2 of the better players in all of baseball. I believe that J-Rom is so incredibly underrated. Tarek Skubal, he's the best pitcher in baseball. That's my view of it. I like Paul Skeens a lot. Can't wait to watch those guys pitch in the WBC. Skubal is ridiculous. 104 in the 9th inning last year to complete a shutout. That was the moment to me that established him as the number 1 pitcher in baseball. He's also been able to do it, though, countless times over the last 2 years. Love that question, though. Jared and Julie Smith's question, who has a better shot at making the Royals roster? Josh Rojas, Kevin Newman, or Abraham Toro? I'll go with Josh Rojas. They like his ability to play multiple positions. He can play them well. Numbers weren't great last year. 2024, good enough numbers. Good enough numbers to be on the bench for a playoff team. I'd put it at 40-some% that he makes the roster. If Adam Frazier is re-signed, that bumps down to 20-ish% in my opinion. Logan's question, does Bubic going to arbitration increase the chances of him getting traded in your opinion? I kind of think so. They still need to have the offer that entices them a lot. They hold Chris Bubic in higher value than most teams in baseball do, just because of the injuries that he's endured and the fact that he's going to be a free agent at season's end. You're $1 million off with the arbitration hearing. Maybe you can see a move in the next couple of weeks where instead of going to this arbitration hearing and trying to settle on a certain amount, this could be the time to move a guy like Chris Bubic. If you don't, you still have one heck of a pitcher for the rotation and someone upside-wise can be your second-best starter in that rotation. Braden's question, with Rosenthal and Salmon's latest piece for The Athletic, they mentioned the Mets gauging the trade market in pitching. What do you think of Bubic to the Mets for Acuna or Mauricio as depth at second base? I wouldn't be opposed to it. If they are going to trade with the Mets, Mark Vientos is an interesting name to me. 30-plus home run potential, down year last year, but he is a third baseman / first baseman. Where he really fits, not anywhere unless he DHs. He is a right-handed bat, though. Who knows? You could get a little bit creative there. I like the idea, though, of a power bat like Vientos over depth at second base. You might as well just go re-sign Adam Frazier to be your depth at second base. And the final one is coming from Irmo. It appears bat production from DH in 2025 was almost as bad as right field. For 2026, I assume most games rotate DH among Vinny, Salvi, Jensen, with the other 2 playing the field. Who beyond those 3 do you think gets some at-bats at DH? The only one I can think of is Jonathan India. Jonathan India, if he's not playing second base, should be DHing or should be sitting the bench. I'm not putting him back at third. I'm not putting him in left field. If you want Massey to start on that day and Salvador Perez or Vinny or Carter Jensen is resting, then Jonathan India, if that bat is hot, can be your DH. Other than that, I don't see anybody on this roster that really has to DH or should be DHing. I'd rather just have their defense out there in the field, which is another reason why I'm okay with Jonathan India getting some at-bats at designated hitter. Well, that's going to do it for the second time today, answering all of your guys' questions for a Mailbag Friday. Again, I apologize for getting this episode out a little bit later than usual. StreamYard just didn't back me up. Didn't come through for me on this busy Friday. We will have the weekend off. We'll be off on Monday, but we will be back on Tuesday recapping anything that happened and likely have some new rumor stuff to talk about. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.